If you're in group two, you like freedom and wonder. And you don't really care much for the future because you like living in the now. Because the now is where the wow is. Because when you live in this, if you're a group two person, you love ideas and adventures and inventions and innovation and creativity and living in the moment and going with the flow.
This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nick Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business, get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today.
All right, well, that is the first part of our segment tonight, and that brings me through to introducing Rory Kilmartin, who is the author, the creator, the researcher, the person who discovered the archetypal, what do we call it? Archetypal, well, he's got a site called Archetypal Relationships, but he's got a fabulous way of explaining or helping to explain why we are what we are, why we do what we do, and how we are so annoying to our spouses and why they annoy us so much, even though we fell madly in love with them when we first met. But not only that, these are things that go sort of through into our relationships in business, and it also helps us to discover what actually drives us to do what we do, whether it's well or poorly. And why is it that sometimes we never listen to the advice that we get and other times we take it all on board and act on it? So without further ado, let me introduce you to Rory Kilmartin from Archetypal Relationships. Welcome, Rory.
Thank you so much, Nick, and thank you for your kind words. Do you mind if I just ask, what's the ideal number of minutes you'd like me to use?
Oh, look, you can sort of take us through to 7:30, if you're happy with that.
Yeah, that
so
sounds...
I'll make it 45, and then we'll probably give us
great.
a bit of time for questions and answers at the end. Yep.
Perfect. I'm going to maximize my 45 minutes with you all. But I do want to start by saying it's a pleasure to meet you, and I wish we could wave a magic wand and we'd all just be in the same room together, shaking hands and smiling, and maybe the odd hug here and there. And either way, I'm really thrilled that you're here. And in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to introduce you to some very important information that has saved my life and transformed the lives and family homes and marriages of a few thousand people around the world. So without further ado, someone's going to spotlight me, I believe.
I'm just trying to get there, Rory.
That's okay. I've been thoroughly enjoying you juggling the technical glitches this evening. It's been impressive and quite entertaining, just as long as you know it. There we go. Very good indeed.
There we go.
All right, so let's just dive straight in then, shall I? So three quick questions. Who am I? What's the plan? Why are we here? Yeah. So who am I? My name's Rory. I'm from London, England. I currently live in the biggest little town in Australia, apparently, called Mullumbimby, near Byron Bay in northern New South Wales. So from central London to Mullumbimby, it's been very entertaining. And I am the founder of Archetypal Relationships and the designer and creator of the soon-to-be award-winning Archetypal Relationships Academy. I have been speaking on stages all over the world. Well, this was May the 8th, 2004, when I first got up on stage and shared my findings. And I've had the honor and opportunity of being invited on stages, as I just said, all over the world, on and off, for the last 20 years. I've been on some fairly sizable podcasts, including Melanie's podcast, and she's amazing. And only myself and Dr. John Gray are the two relationship experts that she's had. And for those of you who don't know, John is the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which is the largest selling relationship book of all time. Now, part of the reason why I'm invited to be on these stages and podcasts is because my material produces results. And it turns out that I'm actually the #1 marriage counselor in Australia right now, according to Trustpilot, purely based on results. So if you were to go to Trustpilot and search for archetypal relationships, you will read extraordinary stories of people just like you who were sitting in a chair just like yours. First day they met me in an environment probably very similar to this. And just in case you're wondering, the average marriage counselor score is 2.6, and we raised that average. And because of the results, word got out, and I was invited to speak live on television one morning down in the Paramount offices in Sydney, and it was an absolutely delightful day. And it's been very enjoyable being here and sharing my work with people around Australia and obviously the world. So what's the plan? Well, I've got 42 minutes to share with you a few slides. And part of that is I'm going to introduce you to some concepts, and then I'm going to ask you 4 questions. And then I'm going to ask for some feedback from those questions. So there's going to be some interactive work, interactive opportunities for us on this presentation. It's not just going to be me boring you with a lecture. So get ready, because I'm going to want to hear from you in a little bit. So why are we here? Well, I appreciate that many of you are here as business owners, but I work with business owners, but my preference is to work with people when they take their business persona off, when they are the person who goes home on a Friday evening and the person who is attempting to have a relationship with themselves, their partner, their children, and their neighborhood, etc. And often people's experience is very much that people are confused and frustrated and in pain. And while this is an image of a couple in their home, this could easily be reflected in a business image, 2 business partners in an office losing their minds with each other. And fundamentally why we're here is because people are looking for answers and results. And this is what I specialize in, and it's what I've devoted my life to. I'll just share with you a couple. This is Paul. He's a business owner and a family man with a lovely young wife and 2 children. And this program, this material that I've discovered, completely transformed him and his business and his relationship with his children and his wife. Just another quick example for you. This is Liz. She's been studying personal development for over 20 years, and she's also a business owner. And this has transformed her business and her entire family, not just herself, but it's transformed her entire family. And these are very real results. And like I said, there's many more for you to have a look at. So with that said, let's begin. I'm going to share with you 3 steps today, okay? Understanding the fundamental issue that's affecting you and all people and what can be done about it. Second is why people struggle in relationships, essentially. If you think about it for a second, it should be relatively straightforward. If you're a decent person, if you're a good person, Colin, Tim, Peter, Jane, Paul, Jacqueline, if I pronounced that correctly, and everybody else on this call, if you're a decent person, a good person, you're a kind person, and you have a relationship with another person that's essentially good and decent and kind, how could it possibly be difficult? How and why is it difficult? If you're a good person and you marry a good person, why is it complicated? Well, that's an interesting question. So we're going to reveal that for you all today, which is going to be very worthwhile. And then the third part is just an opportunity for you to discover a relationship breakthrough for yourself. So, as time is of the essence, let's have a little chat about this fundamental issue. Yeah. So, I'm making a claim that there's a fundamental issue that we all have in relationships. And I just want to be clear, this is business relationships, business partnerships, management and employee relationships, family, friends, intimate partners, and children. So the fundamental issue is that we live in a growth by challenge universe. And just between you and me, I've been slightly pissed off about this for some time. I'd much rather live in a universe where we just sort of casually gather awareness as we go, and we don't gather awareness through challenge. But in this particular universe, if we believe in the multiverse theory, we live in a growth by challenge universe. And what that means, similar to the rings of a tree. Remember when you were a child and you saw images of a cut tree and all the rings of the tree that symbolized growth? If you could imagine the equivalent of that for the human psyche, for you, the rings of the tree are the most uncomfortable moments, the most challenging moments of your life. I agree, it's annoying, but it is what it is. So we might as well just be with it, right? So nature abhors stagnation. Stagnation is essentially a form of death in nature. And bad things happen in stagnation. Things need to flow and move and grow. And the psyche does not like to stagnate either. We are meant to continue to gather awareness in our lives. We're not meant to have the same beliefs, decisions, and assumptions we had when we were 25 when we're 75. We're not meant to have the same beliefs, decisions, and assumptions that we had when we were 74 when we're 75. And what we're saying is that there is an unrelenting demand to grow up. And I can think of it very much like it's the prime directive of life itself. Or another way of saying it, there is a developmental agenda, which is the prime directive of life itself. What do we mean by that? We're meant to continue to grow. It's not Disney. Disney sold us a bad product. Meet Prince Charming, or, I don't know, Princess, the Disney princesses, yes. Must remember raising my daughter. The Disney princesses, yes. And you'll live happily ever after. Find the right business partner, and you'll be happily ever after. And you'll make lots of money and never argue, said Disney's business channel. But that's just not the way it works. There's a developmental agenda. Another way of saying it is that marriage is the crucible for healing, which is the polite way of saying the most committed relationships you have will be the relationships where the deepest trauma and the deepest issues that you have from your life are going to come up. And the love that you have for each other is going to hopefully be big enough to not leave. And partnership is designed fundamentally to bring up the unresolved parts of us, to resolve them. And the one that you love will be the catalyst for you growing up the most. So we all love the idea of being in a happy relationship. But the reality is, when the vicar says it's hard work, even though they can't necessarily. So I remember meeting a vicar once. I was with a friend who was getting married, and he said, it's going to be hard work. And I said, can you explain that? He said, no. What the hell is that? That's useless. Thanks for the warning. Yeah. So this idea that we're not meant to be happy, we're meant to grow. So the fundamental issue is all of that. That if we don't have an understanding that our relationships are going to be challenging, we are likely to not have our expectations met, and unfulfilled expectations leads to upset. When you have unfulfilled expectations every day, you run the risk of being upset every day. Eventually, that's too much. So it looks a little bit like this. We meet, and we're happy, and we have grand visions. But in reality, there's a phase where we get lost in the ROMs. And ultimately, what we're looking for is to return to what's possible between us. And there's a little book down there in this AI created image. And we're going to discover what that book is in a little while. So just to keep things moving, because I want to get into this second part with you, and I have half an hour left. Let's just discover why people are struggling, okay? So I've devoted the last 19 years of my life to the findings that I began to discover in my 30s. I'm only 51, so I have a long way to go, but I have devoted my life. So I have one or two things that are extremely powerful and relevant to understand. So one of the first things I understood when I was 32, standing in the hallway of my mentor's apartment in central London, as I realized that my life didn't work, I realized that we're not the same. And what we mean by that is that humans are divided into 4 groups. And the problem with this is that we all look the same. Everybody I can see on this call, you all appear to be humans. None of you are like a donkey or a sloth or a giraffe. You all appear to be humans. Now, the problem with that is that all of us assume that therefore all other humans are the same as us, because we must be humans together on some way. But the actual reality is we're not the same. And if you're a note taker, that's the first thing to write down. You don't have to take notes, but if you are, Write it down and underline it. We're not the same. I'm going to demonstrate this for you all today. And I'm looking forward to listening to some of you. So I'm going to ask you 4 questions. And you're going to decide which of the 4 groups you resonate with the most. And then at the end, I'm going to ask whoever thinks they're in group 1, and I'm going to ask you what I said resonates with you the most. And just to give you fair warning, it's likely that there's a second one that you'll also resonate with, but you want to aim for the one that resonates with you the most. Everybody understand? Give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up? Fantastic. Okay, here we go. So, first question. What do you care about most? If you're in group 1, you like planning and systems and details and timelines and agreement and knowing what's going to happen in future. If you're in group 2, you like freedom and wonder. And you don't really care much for the future because you like living in the now. Because the now is where the wow is. Because when you live in this, if you're a group 2 person, you love ideas and adventures and inventions and innovation and creativity and living in the moment and going with the flow. If you're a group 3 person, you like to win. You like action. You like getting things done. You don't really like a procrastination. You don't like not knowing what to do. You like to have an action list. You like to wake up in the morning and get stuff done. And you like finishing the day knowing that you've ticked a whole bunch of stuff off your list. And one of the things you care about most is if you're a group 3 person, you are constantly aware of keeping the innocent safe. Protecting people. It's very important to you. If you're a group 4 person, you love connection and emotional safety and making sure everybody around you is okay emotionally. The group 3 people care about everybody around them being physically safe. Group 4 people want everybody to be emotionally safe. So that's my first question. You don't need to speak right now. I'm just going to drink something, but just take a moment and just wonder. Hopefully it should be clear. All right, question number 2. So now you know what you care about most. Now I want to know what bothers you most. If you're a group 1 person, chaos, trains being cancelled, the wrong leaves on the track, things being disrupted, your plan being disrupted bothers you a lot. And you don't like it when people change your plan, or you have to change your plans because somebody's being an idiot. This is your least favorite thing, and you don't like dishonesty at all. If you're a group 2 person, you cannot stand a number of things because you love freedom. You can't stand being criticized. You can't stand being accused. And you cannot stand being told what to do, how to do it, or when to do it. You don't mind being given a task, but you've got to be left alone to get on with it in your own time and in your own way. If you're a group 3 person, you don't like dishonesty either, if I'm honest, but you really don't like people who are weak, learned helplessness, people who could clearly do something, but they're making excuses and hoping somebody else does the task that they don't really want to do. And they don't like people who aren't paying attention. If you're a group 3 person, you like people to be switched on, like a special forces team. We're coming together, we're dialed in, we're going to dig the ditch, we're going to fix the fence, we're going to move the needle, we're going to the boxes, we're going to get stuff done, and we're going to love it. No excuses, and we're going to get on with it. And everyone's going to give a hoorah, and we're just going to get on with it. And that's what the group 3 people want every day to be like. If you're a group 4 person, you don't like anybody getting angry or cross with you, ever. In fact, if anybody gets cross with you or angry with you, your productivity plummets, and you spend the rest of the day, hopefully in bed under a doona, obsessing your thoughts about how that conversation went, having a would've, could've, should've conversation. You can't stand the idea of letting anybody down. And the worst thing in the world is somebody disconnecting from you because they're upset with you or cross with you. This is devastating. Essentially, if you're a group 4 person, what bothers you is any form of disconnection, even just the slightest whiff of a disturbance in the force. It's hugely unsettling for a group 4 person. Everybody still with me? You're beginning to have a sense of who you might be? Hope so. Let's move on to question 3. So we know what you care about, and we know what bothers you. And when things bother you, how do you react? If you're a group 1 person, you get direct, you get demanding, insistent, and serious. The group 1 people lose their sense of humor, get very direct, very insistent, and very controlling. That's the plan. But you've got to get the plan back together. Because if there's chaos, someone's got to take charge. And the group 1 people want to take charge and make it happen. If you're a group 2 person, and somebody starts criticizing you and accusing you and cornering you and trying to confirm that you maybe lied, then the group 2 people react by being very quick with words. They become defensive. Excuses just come out of their mouth like a Las Vegas magician pulling a whole deck of cards out of their mouths. The speed by which group 2 people can come up with excuses and be defensive is quite remarkable. And because group 2 people want to duck and dive and bob and weave, they can be slippery, and they want to be clever. They want to outsmart the enemy. The enemy is anybody telling them what to do or criticizing them. If you're a group 3 person, then you get loud, blunt, direct, and dominate. The group 3 people have been the bouncers of human history, so they like aggression, they like volume, and they don't mind raising the volume when it's appropriate. If you're a group 4 person, then if anybody gets cross or angry with you, or you feel like you've let somebody down, there's a fear, like an existential death fear. And the group 4 people find it difficult to form sentences. Group 2 people find it very easy to form sentences. They have defenses and excuses. And group 4 people find it difficult to form a sentence. It's like their brain goes into the old TVs at night, the blizzard screen on a TV. And then group 4 people want to disconnect from the situation where somebody's loud or angry or upset. And often group 4 people will ultimately sulk because they feel so badly wronged because somebody raised the volume. All right, everybody still with me? One more question. So we have these 4 groups of people, and they care about some things that are unique to them. And some things bother them. Typically, anybody who acts in a way that's against what they care about. And when they're bothered, they behave a certain way and they react a certain way. So the 4th question then is, if you have this experience for a long time, there becomes like a persistent experience of life. And this persistent struggle or experience is the group 1 people become frustrated. They feel like they're lonely and no one else is paying attention to the future. The group 1 people are attending to the future all the time. They fall asleep at night thinking about what else needs to be done to get the family ready for the week away. When do we need to fill up the car? They think about the future all the time. They wake up in the morning thinking about the future, and they start making a plan and they execute the plan, and it's very important to them all the time. And if nobody else is paying attention to the future, it's very lonely. It's also very stressful because group 1 people just want to be in partnership, solving problems together. Group 2 people, their persistent struggle is constantly feeling like they're not free, that they're more like an escaped convict, just waiting for the moment when the police knock on the door and start telling them what to do. They feel cornered. The persistent struggle of a group 2 person is a perpetual state of feeling cornered, that their freedom is under attack. And in addition, I would say that their ideas are not valued. The group 2 people, one of their currencies, one of their gifts and contributions is they contribute ideas. And when somebody just disregards their ideas, it is very uncomfortable for group 2 people. Group 3 people, the persistent struggle is that they end up with people who I call the gate openers. people who leave the gate open at night for the Vikings and the snakes and the con men to sneak into the village and harm the innocent. So the group 3 people have to be constantly vigilant because it appears nobody else understands that there is darkness and evil. And the other problem that group 3 people have is because they have no problem raising the volume, really they raise the volume because something's important to them. And they believe that everybody would understand that I'm only raising the volume because it's important to me. I'm trying to get my point across. But a lot of people find raised volume to be very bad and wrong. So group 3 people are often misunderstood for sometimes decades. And they don't have team because a lot of people don't want to be on their team because they raised their voice 15 years ago. Once. That's often all it takes, Jane, isn't that right? I can see the nods. I recognize that. So the group 3 people can often end up feeling like they don't have a team, they're misunderstood, and they're the only people thinking about danger. And finally, the group 4 people, when they don't feel like their emotions are cared for by somebody else, it is a constant state of anxiety, but not in the classic sense, just a constant state of stress. All 4 of the groups have a constant state of stress related to their persistent struggle. The group 4 people feel disconnected, and connection is the thing that makes them feel alive. And you know you're a group 4 person if you're plagued often daily with what I call imaginary role play conversations. Group 4 people have imaginary conversations where they imagine speaking with strength and clarity and addressing somebody that didn't speak to them well yesterday. And they imagine that conversation, sometimes for multiple hours a day, every day. When the group 3 people are like, what are you talking about? Imaginary role play conversation. That sounds ridiculous. Oh yeah, afraid so. There's a whole bunch of humans that can't stop themselves having imaginary role play conversations. So, quick recap. Group 1 people care about planning and systems. They don't like chaos, change, and dishonesty. They react to people being dishonest and chaotic by being direct, insistent, and serious. And their persistent struggle is feeling frustrated and alone, and no sense of partnership. If you're a group 2 person, you care about freedom and wonder and ideas and creativity. And what bothers you is criticism, accusation, or being told anything. Group 2 people can't stand being told anything. Group 2 people can't stand telling themselves what to do, just so we're clear. A group 2 person might think to themselves, right, I should really do that thing now. And now I can't do it because I've told myself to do it. It's really that bad. I'm actually not exaggerating at all. And group 2 people, how they react is they become defensive and slippery. They make excuses. And they will not be cornered, and they will not be told what to do, and they will not be accused of anything, and nobody will get it past them. And their struggle is they feel cornered all the time. Their freedom is under threat, and people don't respect their ideas, and this is dreadful for them. Group 3 people care about winning in action, moving the needle forwards. What bothers you is weakness, excuses, slack. Don't like dishonesty either. You know, you've got to put a group of people together. We're going to pack up a house. The removal van's coming at 10. We've got to start at 7. We've got 4 hours, like 3 hours to pack up the house. And somebody rocks up at 8:30 with a coffee and a donut and a story. Now, that's not okay. That's infuriating. They're going to get shouted at because we needed to be a special forces team from 7. And you've turned up at 8:10 with some BS story. So group 3 people, they get blunt and loud and dominant. In that example, they'll probably say, shut the flip up, put your coffee and donut down and pick up some boxes. We've got a job to do. There's no time for this kind of behavior for a group 3 person. They're just annoying. They need to be told, right? And group 3 people say, hey, stop that. That's annoying. It's just like that, casually, easy. So the struggle is sense of being misunderstood. I'm not having a team. and constantly having to be vigilant because they're surrounded by people that do not understand. Don't put the boiling mug of boiling water near the baby. Don't leave your keys. Don't put your keys down in a shop. Don't leave the gate open. Is it locked? Like there's a constant state of vigilance. If you're a group 4 person, it's all about love and connection. It's cuddle parties. We might have cuddle parties multiple times a day. That would be ideal for a group 4 person. And what bothers them is anybody getting angry, letting people down, or disconnection. And how we react is people get afraid, they go mute, they disconnect, and they sulk. And the persistent struggle is people feel hurt, weak, and they have recurring thoughts. So I want to know very quickly who recognized themselves as a group 1 person. We're going to do this in like 1 minute each. Anybody group 1 person? You can come off mute, and in about 10 seconds, I just want you to say what resonated. Colin, what did I say? You got 10 seconds.
Yeah, well, I wasn't 1 across the board. In the first one, I was a 4, definitely a 4. And I was a 1 in the next 3, but with little bits of other stuff in there.
Gotcha. Very good. Peter?
On the first one and the third one, I'm a number 1. And the second and the fourth, I'm a number 3. And it just, I tried to just be in one section.
That's great. That's why I said to you that you're gonna be a mix of 2, but one of them will stand out the most. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep moving forward. Anybody recognize themselves as a number 2 person? Want to come off mute and say hi, Aldwin? This doesn't surprise me at all. Hi. Tell me about what resonated.
I think the freedom-loving part really resonated, and also I feel a bit of 4 as well with the love and connection. I feel a bit. Sometimes I sulk, I get upset sometimes, and I go and hide away. But really, 2 resonated the most.
Very, very good. Any other number 2s in the house? Nope. Okay then. Anybody a number 3?
Janine here, definitely a number 3, but I've mellowed under number 3 as I've got older. Rory, it really doesn't matter now, but it used to matter a lot, although I will put things up on social if I've got an opinion about something.
Very, very good. So number 3 is well recognized in you, and you've been softening over the years. Very, very good.
Definitely.
Is Tim still in the house? Because I think Tim, he may have gone, I don't know, but I saw him nodding with recognition at the number 3 descriptions. Anybody else number 3? And my lovely number 4s. Anybody number 4? Jane, come on, let's let it out. I know you and me are the same. And Cameron, Jane, you go first. What resonates?
I think in my life's journey, I've always focused on love and connection, and that's been my work base. I was a junior primary teacher. I'm not a junior primary teacher anymore, so I do struggle a bit in my current context. So disconnection's a really big issue for me, and I try to keep everyone connected.
Yes, try and keep everybody connected. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about
And
connection.
keep them happy.
Jane, without connection and emotional safety, is there any point?
No.
Cameron, you want to
Absolutely
jump
not.
in for 5 seconds?
Sure. Yeah, I was number 4 to a T. Also, I resonated a fair bit with number 2, but yeah, number 4 was just me to an absolute T. And I think a lot of that is being raised by number 3 and going off in the opposite direction to that in a lot of ways. But yeah, like you said, is there any point if there's not that emotional connection? And yeah, like I've done a lot of just stuff that even though I'm very introverted and particularly with younger people, like I've done fostering and junior coaching and sports and all that sort of stuff. And it's just that connection is so vital.
So important. Very, very, very good.
Are you there, Rory?
Yes, Paul. Hi.
Yeah, hi, Rory. Good day. Like many of us, I'm a bit in conflict with myself. I'm an accountant by background and qualification, but in fact, I put myself down as a 4, and that's because I've learned that I enjoy people even more than I enjoy numbers. But look, we're all a combination. I think each of us is a human cocktail of a bit of this and a bit of that, and one comes through that's a bit more dominant. And in my case, I've come out as a love and connection. I like people.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Very good, everybody. Thanks so much for playing along. So the summary then, I'm just going to take you through a few more slides. So the summary then is, if I had a bit more time, every time I speak to groups of people, especially live, I take them through a longer, more detailed version of what I just did. And the whole room divides into 4 groups. And I get them all to speak to the other groups to describe their experience of life. And every single time without fail, that's what happens. Because we're talking about the human psyche. We're not talking about my opinion. So when I divide the audiences into these groups, the differences become incredibly clear. Okay? So I'm going to keep going. And I might just rifle through a couple of things here. So I don't care about that right now. So quick summary. There's a developmental agenda. You're meant to experience some struggle. And there are 4 different groups and there's 4 different struggles. Now, what I don't have enough time to explain to you is, as Cameron just pointed to very eloquently, is that group 3 and group 4 people often end up in relationships, whether it's parenting relationships or intimate relationships. Groups 1 and group 2 often end up in relationships. Groups 1 and 2 have opposing agendas and values. Groups 3 and 4 have opposing agendas and values. This is the source of the majority of struggle in relationships between kind, well-meaning people by volume. Okay? So none of these struggles are going away, and they're going to continue until your final breath, until you figure them out. Fundamentally, you have to deal with your stuff, and what we're looking for is a proven path. So we're hoping to find that book in that earlier image where you actually feel like you want to sit closely with your partner and your dog actually wants to join in, or you want to come home to a house where you actually feel loved and welcomed and people are excited to see you, or you want to fall asleep at night because you found the answers and you transformed your relationship and your family home. And ultimately, what almost everyone is looking for, whether they realize it or not, is a map that explains everything to do with human beings. And this map is what I call, with great respect and with much affection, archetypal wisdom. Archetypal wisdom is essentially the operating manual for human beings. It is this glorious body of knowledge that exists inside us. And it's like finding a path through a forest that is able to explain why you are the way you are, why your partner and children and loved ones and or business colleagues are the way they are. Archetypal wisdom goes on to explain the dysfunction of your life. Your archetypal nature, which we have names for, but it's too soon to go into them now. Your archetypal nature has a gift. Each of those 4 groups has a gift, a contribution, a role, a way that it serves and supports and promotes their communities and households and villages and congregations and countries. But they also have an Achilles heel. They also have the way in which they are dysfunctional. So archetypal wisdom reveals the dysfunction of our lives. And ultimately, it reveals the source of the struggle of your life. If you've struggled in your relationships, if you struggled with your children, if you know deep down there are some recurring patterns that when you look back in your life, there are some recurring patterns. Archetypal wisdom explains all of it. It's like this glorious wisdom that helps you make sense of yourself. It ultimately reveals how to create real partnership. I did a 5-day introductory training recently with 11 couples. And over the course of they were all sitting apart from each other. A couple were on beds, a couple were on couches, one was at a kitchen table. And over the 5 days, then there was a hand on a knee, and they just got closer and closer until they were shoulder to shoulder. People got their hands on each other, they got their arms through each other. And that's just how quickly all of this happens. And that was just half an hour a day with an hour call with me. And it ultimately transforms your family home. Even if you're living by yourself, the peace and clarity and calm that will arise for you when you understand archetypal wisdom is beyond words. If you have other humans under your roof, partner, children, really any living creature will be happier when you understand archetypal wisdom. So to try and finish in the next few minutes, it's a little bit like, Nick has invited me to speak with you because he understands the pedigree of my work, and he understands the work that I do with individuals, parents, and couples around the world. So I'm very happy to be invited here, but let's be under no illusions. There's a door that's opening up for you right now. And this door is essentially an invitation to come and learn a little bit more about archetypal wisdom. And really is my life's work. And as a relationship researcher I started when I was 12 years old, my fascination began. So we're at 39 years now. It's my 40th anniversary next May that I have been searching for the answers that make a difference. And I'm devoting the rest of my life to delivering this information to as many people as possible. That's how important what you're discovering right now in this moment is. Imagine for a moment having the opportunity to meet someone that's devoted their lives to finding the information that makes a difference, that explains relationships. And he's found it himself over the course of 6 years in his 30s. And he's devoting the rest of his life to sharing it because it is so magnificent. Imagine the fortune you must have to bump into that person when there's 7.5 billion people on Earth.
8.5.
So I really invite you to go to Trustpilot. There are dozens of results from people just like you that came across me. I'll give you a couple more. This is Vic. She's fabulous. She has 2 adult sons. She unfortunately had to witness her marriage deteriorate slowly over 15 years with no idea how to solve it. When she met me and did this work and discovered archetypal wisdom, she understood that she could have saved her marriage quite easily, but it was too late. She'd already fully separated and divorced. But she now has the best relationship she's had with her adult sons, and she now has the best relationship she's had with her now ex-husband they've ever had. She actually had Christmas with him and his new partner and her friend, and it was extraordinary to reunite her family. None of this would have been possible without archetypal wisdom. I want to try and understand in what I'm sharing profound impact that this has had on the rest of her life. Elizabeth is phenomenal. She's been doing personal development work forever, and she says that archetypal wisdom is essentially the best thing she's ever done. And Donna's been searching for 40 years. That's 4 decades. 4 decades she's been searching for the answers, and she says very clearly, nothing really worked until she came across this program. What she's saying is, nothing really worked until she found archetypal wisdom. Margot's phenomenal. She's been searching for relationship answers for 35 years. And she's read pretty much every book on relationships worth reading in the last 35 years. Yes, 35 now. She's done many, many courses. And when she found archetypal wisdom, she wrote this, and she meant every word of it. She called me up with tears in her eyes, her voice shaking, that she spent all this time searching, and she finally found the answers. So I don't know if you're listening. There are people out there. I have other stories of people that have been studying relationships for decades, and they all say the same thing: the search is over now. So I have a very special offer for you. The headline is, in my 2 minutes and 30 seconds, Nick, I'm very pleased with myself. So I've designed, over the last 7 years, 3 programs that I take people through. And I run 3 semesters a year in February, March, June, July, and October, November. It just so happens that Nick, purely by happenstance, has invited me to come and speak to you all today. And my introductory program, my final introductory program of the year, begins tomorrow morning It's perfectly fine if you miss the first call. But my invitation for you is, if anything I've said to you resonates with you, if there's any part of you that's like, wow, I'd like to know more about that, my invitation is very simply to call with me. That's it. Book a call with me. Talk to me. I have a very, very special offer for you. If you are interested in learning, as Nick said at the beginning of the call, the very special offer is, if you book a call with me and speak to me, I'm free pretty much all day tomorrow. I'm leading a call in the morning, but I'm pretty much free all day tomorrow. If you book a call with me, I'll make it worth your while. It's really that simple, but you have to act. Now, maybe you didn't come on this live event with Nick this evening to take any actions. Maybe you're just here to be entertained, learn a few social media points, share a bit about you and your business. But be not mistaken that there is a door opening. The thing about archetypal wisdom, and I have 32 seconds, so I'm going to use them. The thing about archetypal wisdom is that once it's inside you, raises your awareness like nothing else. And it improves the quality and relationships of every relationship in your life for every day for the rest of your life. The material is fundamental information, which means it transforms you just by knowing it. But you can't find it on your own. So that's my time, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate you listening. You've been very gracious. And the link is in the chat. So Nick, I think that's my time. Over to you, my friends.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Any guesses out of all of those four as to where I might sit? I'm curious.
I think number
Anyone?
I would
Sorry,
say
what was
two.
that, Aldred?
I would.
A two.
I'd say two as well, Nick.
Would you?
Mm.
Oh my goodness. Am I that transparent?
Two or four.
No, I'm definitely a two, and I have to say, following on from when Jenny agreed to come along to this, Rory had a half day, or was it 2 or 3 hours, I think it was, in the morning. And so what happens now is I discovered that, yes, I am in fact a two. She is a one. We get on each other's nerves at the most inappropriate times. But now, since we know that that's exactly what's happening, we're able to call out our number two and number one and just laugh. So it has, I mean, we've got a good relationship, but it's actually just transformed it into something that's that we can laugh about it as well too, because we know exactly what each other's doing. So it was fascinating. It really is.
Let me just reflect that back for everybody. In around 2 hours, live with me in a room, Nick and his partner's experience of frustration went from frustrating to something you can laugh about. Just like that. It's magic. It has power. Changes everything for the better. So if you're listening, I look forward to speaking to you, hopefully tomorrow or the next day. If it's just not the right time for you, no hard feelings at all. Blessings to each and every one of you. But for those of you that book a call, it's going to be a turning point in your life. I'm going to stop speaking now, unless somebody asks me a question. Peter.
Well,
I have a question. Have you read a book called The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield?
I'm aware of it, and I may have read some of it 25 years ago.
It's only a very small book, and then there's a second. I think you'll find it very interesting and fitting in with what you're saying. It's about 20 or 30 years. I think it goes before your research, but it covers an enormous amount of relationships and how people are affected by other people. You know, for example, you're at a party, someone walks in the room and fills the room with energy. Someone else walks in the room and drains them
Yes.
of energy, and it's all that sort of thing. How people fit together, how they don't fit together, and so on. I think you'll find it very.
Thank you for the suggestion. I remember it from back in the day.
Yeah, well, that's when it was written back in the day.
Very good. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Very good.
Any
Right, Nick. I'm
questions
going to
or
be quiet.
comments? Fabulous, excellent.
Yes.
Aldrin, you've just unmuted there, and I can tell you've got something.
Thank you. So knowing this, I've been happily single for quite a few years now. There was a time there when I really wanted to be in a relationship, but now I'm happily single. So how does knowing this information help if you're single?
Well, I mean, I can't make promises, but people often end up getting into relationships when they haven't been in relationships for some time because this shifts things that are invisible. Archetypal wisdom is found in the invisible world without language, and it addresses the invisible world without language inside you. What happens after that is, up to the miraculous. People stop fighting overnight. People have the best relationships they've ever had with their children, ever. People have the best Christmas they've ever had as a family. People sleep better. People start laughing with their partners rather than getting frustrated with them. People dance in the kitchen. And it doesn't matter whether you're single or in a relationship. Archetypal wisdom is this extraordinary gift that you give yourself, but you just can't find it on your own. So I won't make promises, Aldwin, but it's breathtaking in the most magnificent way I could try. It's why we need poets, you see. It's that good.
Rory,
Hey, Tim.
Sorry,
Yes?
can I ask a question? Have you got a book or anything? I've got two sons, and one's a 3 and one's a 4, and the 4 works for the 3, which goes down really well, as you can imagine.
I don't have a book yet.
Okay.
I have what many people describe as the best relationship program on earth. And they've checked.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to get the 2 of them doing that. I know I wouldn't,
but when you understand it, you will be able to become the elder.
yeah, okay.
Tim, I'm so glad you're back.
Thanks.
I miss hearing from you earlier when I was talking about... Janine, have you finished? I don't want to cut you off.
No, I have finished, and I do need to leave. I've got a board meeting now at 7:30.
Okay.
So, bye, everybody.
Tim.
Bye, Janine. Rory, yeah, no, we had a blackout here of all things. But yeah, total number 3, total wolf. So I'll give it to you straight. I've been into a lot of this different, a lot of different names for it, archetype, relationships, human design. There's all different sort of classifications on humans. And if I'm hearing you right, your point of difference is the enhancement of relationships. Is that since archetypal relationships, is that the focus on this kind of sorting material?
Yes. Well, because I'm a relationship researcher and I discovered these archetypes myself firsthand. So I didn't read them in a book. It took me 6 years just to figure out 2 of them and all of the machinery and mechanisms that run them. So I understand power dynamics from an archetypal perspective. And I understand a lot of the personality stuff is 2-dimensional and static. I understand the 3-dimensional dynamic aspects of the invisible world. And I understand the machinery and mechanisms that run it all. Without sounding like I'm bragging, it's just what I've figured out. And once you understand the machinery and the mechanisms, all sorts of things make sense, and then you stop being run by the mechanisms. Simple example, right? Group 2 people can't be criticized. That's no good. That's a disaster. But they will not be able to be criticized until death. Group 1 people, lose their sense of humor when the plans get changed. Group 2 people can't stop cracking jokes at inappropriate moments because the stress is too uncomfortable for them. They just have to say something funny just to ease the stress,
Yeah, so this is actually, maybe I missed something here, but so this is your brainchild. This isn't something that's been passed down from anyone else. This is something that you generated from within your own insight, wisdom, pattern recognition. Okay, well, thank you for being clear on that.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So I've devoted, yes, I own most of the books on archetypes. I own pretty much every one that I can find, and I've not read any of them. I read King Warrior Magician Lover once after I'd figured it out, because I knew that I had to, right? But I haven't read any of the others because I can't. I picked them up. I thought that maybe this is the one that's got the answers that I found. And I read the front cover and the back cover, and I read the contents. I might get through a few, and I just can't. There's two types of books on archetypes. There's either books that are like, here are the 96 archetypes. They just made a bunch of stuff up and they've thrown in a few wigwams and some precious stones and stuff, which is fine, I guess. Or the other version is someone trying to be like Carl Jung, writing the driest dross you can possibly imagine. I've not read it. I just know it, right? So the answer is yes. This is, and I discovered them from inside the belly of the whale. So because I'm a relationship researcher, I was studying breakdowns. The majority of personality stuff is very much at arm's length, and put speaker in a box, and they don't understand the dynamics. And the miracle of archetypal wisdom, from my perspective, is it explains almost everything.
Thank you for pushing to the surface that point of difference. Because up until this point, I thought you were just sort of running off a song sheet that someone else had written. So, thank you. Your stock just went up, mate.
Yeah. I'll give you a really quick example. So when I read King Warrior Magician Lover, the Moore and Gilletta Geniuses, and particularly the Archetype of Initiation, is a masterful book. But when I read it, I understood where they'd accidentally misled men for 3 generations. And they accidentally misled them by suggesting that they are a King Warrior Magician Lover, and all 4 of them are within you, and you can access them whenever you want. I'm sorry, but that's just not the way it is. The moment a group 4 person is triggered, they're not accessing shit. Not accessing anything. And I speak about them with great respect. I was invited to be on a mastermind group with Douglas Gillette not long ago. And I politely declined just because the invitation didn't have integrity. Some people were trying to get my work. But I make this point because we technically have all 4 in us, but in reality, we are 1.5, and we have profoundly rejected one of them. And that is the problem of our lives. And archetypal wisdom helps us reunite every aspect of ourselves in a way that makes us essentially balanced, and it provides maturation, and it provides us with a direction of eldership. Because no matter what your age is, there is a path of eldership, even for Cameron, young Cameron. I'm thrilled that you're here. It's like there's a path of eldership that we can all be on, no matter what our age. And it reveals that path, and it creates a calm. So this is my favorite subject in the world. Yes, I do, Cameron. Now I do know. You hold on to those youthful looks, young man. Yeah, you do know I'm 72. No, so I should probably stop talking because I can keep going, and I'm at risk of taking you all into the late hours of the evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Rory. That was
sorry, Nick. Sorry, Nick, 1 second. Tim, just finish your breath and then we'll hand back to Nick. You were going to say something.
No, that was just a breath.
Because Tim is the breathwork guy.
Well, I have great respect for people that carve that path out on their own, because they're doing stuff in the invisible realm. No one else can see it except them. They have to see the value in them, and they have to sort of pretty much live in a space where to add their value, you can't do it for any other reason other than it's your point of focus. And to walk that path for that long and up until this point, that was quite a big shift up. So I thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us this evening.
You're very welcome. There's no plan B.
I love it. Throw away the scabbard.
Yeah. All right, Nick. I'm definitely going to be quiet now.
Fabulous. Excellent. Look, thanks, Rory, for coming and sharing. I just love this stuff. I've been listening to Rory's of it feels like quite a long time, but it's in reality, it's only been two or 3 hours, if that. And I'll be joining his program tomorrow because I'm absolutely fascinated with it. And I know the impact that it had with Jenny and I, even though we had a good relationship, well, we do have a good relationship, but just how we see things so differently. So I appreciate the fact you came on tonight to share your archetypal wisdom. It's not our traditional business show, but I think it's something that really does impact everything about us, in our relationships, but also in business, because business is all about relationships as well anyway. So if you do want to connect with Rory, I highly encourage you to take up that conversation, because I think you will find it a very interesting conversation. And so his calendar link is in the chat. So remember to save the chat. In fact, just before you do it, we'll drop all the links in for the YouTube. So if you want to see this again, the replay will be on YouTube. No doubt you'll be now sort of Googling Rory, and you'll also find some other videos of his around the internet as well too. And if you do get to the Archetypal Wisdom's website, I did pop in the quiz that Rory's got on his website as well too. Again, I encourage you to do that because it puts tonight in a whole new perspective as well. You get a name for those numbers 1 through 4. He actually gives it a name. And so that's what Jenny and I call each other, are those names. They're not pet names at all, but they're names that sort of help us to say, I know exactly what you're doing now. So do that. And if you know anyone else that you think might be interested in this as well, we do have the YouTube channel. Send them along to the YouTube channel. This will be up there tomorrow afternoon. Go and save the chat. Now's a good time to save it, because all of those links are all in there, including those tools and apps that we talked about as well before. And thank you also for persisting through those tech issues that I had. I actually had to come onto Zoom on another computer, so that's why you saw me twice. It wasn't my doppelganger. It was because my computer actually shut down through all this and had to bring it up on another one. So there you go. That's what happens on the live shows. And, I might have looked calm on the surface, but underneath, those little duck feet were going, thinking, what the heck is happening here? How do we get back on track again?
You did great.
Thank you. All right. Well, look, thanks, Rory, for coming to share your wisdom with us tonight. Thanks, everyone, for participating tonight. And we'll be back again next week. If you're wondering what the topic is for next week, it's actually going to be Jenny Mutu teaching. She is going to be talking about Canva and some of the new stuff that's happening in Canva, particularly some of the AI stuff that's coming through Canva. So there's a whole lot of new stuff. So if you want to come and listen to that, book in for next week's session as well too. All right, well, time to go and have a good night. So thanks everyone for coming along. See you next week.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nick Cree, spelled Nickcree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.